Welcome to the Ohio Individual Service Plan Overview Training. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Lucius, and I am a reviewer with the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. Joining me today is Kate O'Donnell Horton and Tina Haggerty, who are also both reviewers with DODD. Today, the three of us are going to talk about the Ohio Individual Service Plan. You might call it your plan, your IP, or maybe you even call it your ISP. But we're going to set the record straight and tell you about how Ohio is transforming the system with the Ohio Individual Service Plan, or OISP for short. This is part 2 of a 2-part training. If you did not get a chance to listen to part 1, you can find the link on My Learning and on DODD's YouTube channel. If you have any questions, we encourage you to sign up for one of our live chats. These offer you the chance to connect with DODD and ask questions directly in real time. In part 1, we discussed why the system needed to make the change to the single plan. We also discussed key principles, and we've reviewed concepts everyone is already familiar with because they will remain an essential part of planning. Today, in part 2, we will discuss what is included in the OISP, a snapshot of the new IT platform interface, and the proposed outline of rollout dates and trainings for implementation. Before we discuss the OISP, let's start off by reviewing where we started. The external work group was one of the first steps of the process. It was formed in 2019 as a diverse group that represented our field. They were supported by DODD staff when needed. The external work group put in a lot of work during meetings, outside of meetings, and after a lot of spirited conversations, the work group developed first an assessment template and then a plan template. And once those were developed, the tester work group was called upon. As you can see, the tester group was also very diverse. The idea was to ensure the spectrum of needs and services and providers were well represented. When the tester group received the assessment, and later the assessment and the plan, they received no training, just guidance on using the form and tips to have a conversation-driven assessment. We wanted to ensure we gave no preconceived ideas or opinions so we could get clear data. The external work group developed a survey for the tester group. This survey had specific data points to ensure the right information was collected. This slide shows who participated in testing. The data from the submitted surveys let the external work group know what was working and what was not working, so they could fine-tune as needed. 87 surveys were completed by SSAs, 67 by family, guardians, and close friends, 39 by waiver providers, 33 by people who receive DD services, 26 by QIDPs, 21 by ICF staff other than a QIDP, and 24 were completed by people in other roles, such as program directors, day service supervisors, QA managers, dietitians, principals, and a behavior support specialist. Without the external work group and tester group, this project would not be successful. A heartfelt thank you goes out to all of you who put in your time and energy to make the OISP a reality. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. Earlier this year, after the assessment was tested, the reviewer group was established. The goal of this group was to ensure the OISP is compliant, to assist with updates to the OISP documents, and to develop training for the field. The group was formed based on conversations and requests from the external work group because they wanted to make sure the new plan met all areas of compliance. This illustrates the OISP work, wherever you've been. In early 2019, Director Davis announced his initiatives, including the core values and key principles. Also at this time, the town hall forums were held, gathering feedback. In summer of 2019, the external work group was established and the OISP work began. In late 2019, the assessment template was developed, the Ohio Department of Health reviewed the assessment, and the tester group was established. Earlier this year, The assessment testing began, data was collected from that testing and analyzed, the reviewer work group was established, updates were made to the assessment, and work began on the OISP. This summer, Salesforce was selected as an IT solution, third-party vendors were acknowledged, and the OISP was finalized for testing. This fall, the OISP was updated for testing, data was collected from testing and analyzed, and updates were made accordingly. In a little over a year, huge progress has been made. DoDD has developed a logo that depicts the philosophy behind the transition to a single plan. This O is from the O in Ohio and represents the Ohio Individual Service Plan and the ongoing cyclical process of assessment, planning, monitoring, and revisions. Next, the I is for individual. It was added because the person is at the center of everything we do. What exactly does that mean? It means we need to remember people drive their plan. We need to be asking, what do they want? How do they want to be supported? Who do they want to support them? We need to take the time to understand what do they want their life to look like. Teams need to empower people to drive the planning process. This training is not just about a single plan, but also about how standardization will bring systemic change. Now, back to the logo. Team members were added to show togetherness. Each team is made up of many important key players, and each plays an important role and has important responsibilities. Teams should promote development of natural and genuine relationships, be creative, consider more than just what has always been done. How could technology be used? Does this even make sense for the person? Does the person still want or need the same level of support? And teams need to communicate what's working, what needs revised, and everyone plays an important part in monitoring. And here's the finished logo. This logo serves as a reminder the person remains at the center of everything we do, and they should be supported by their team. Person-centered planning does not look the same for everyone, but there are guidelines to keep in mind during assessment and planning. Standardization and simplification. Everyone will be using the same tools, assessments, and plans. Statewide trainings are being developed by DoDD to ensure everyone feels comfortable using the tools, the assessment, and the plan. It is important everyone hears the same message and understands where our system is headed. The new IT platform will also be used statewide. And DoDD is focusing on using simplified language to ensure our materials are easy to read and understand. The next is engage and empower. Teams not only need to empower people to drive the planning process, but to speak up and make decisions in their daily lives. Relaxed environment. Meetings and conversations should occur where, when, and how the individual wants. Remember, we should be empowering the person to make decisions, not just about what goes into their plan, but about the entire planning process. Who do they want to attend their ISP? Is there someone they don't want to attend? Where do they feel most comfortable? Are there topics they're not ready to discuss? All of these things and more should be considered. Person-centered tools. The new IT platform has tools embedded in the assessment to help with the person-centered planning process. But remember, person-centered planning is not just about paper. It's about our approach in respecting the individual, supporting people to live their best lives. And lastly, intuitive questions. To ensure the right information is gathered during the assessment phase, the IT platform will use intuitive questions to drill down and populate only the information that is applicable to the person. And remember, to get the right information, we need to have the right people at the table. So don't forget to include those that know the individual best. Now that we have covered how the OISP was developed and we've touched on assessing and planning, let's hear from Kate. She's going to discuss what is in the assessment and why.
Thanks, Stephanie. And I don't know about everybody else watching this, but I love the way the Ohio ISP logo was created. It really shows us visually how much everyone in the state of Ohio cares about putting the person receiving services at the heart of it all. And I absolutely agree. Setting the stage to have a great conversation is a smart place to start. I think you and I both know this, and so many of the people who write plans already know this. When I was a plan author, one of my favorite parts of writing plans was discovering new things about the person. Like, really? You've always wanted to learn polka dancing? I guess you really are a true Clevelander. So, yeah, I agree. There's no way to find out a person's innermost dreams, whether it's finding their birth mother or starting a basement woodworking shop, without building rapport in a safe, non judgmental, and relaxed atmosphere. That's where we find out where they really see their lives going. So, let me tell you a bit more about the standardized approach to assessment that is going to get folks receiving services to the front and center of the team process. The Ohio ISP aligns with the Charting the Life Course terminology. For those who might be unfamiliar, Charting the Life Course has been supported by DODD since 2017 because it teaches the tools people need to support folks at any age or stage of life to develop a vision for a good life. Think about what they need to know, identify how to find or develop supports, and discover what it takes for the person to live the life they want to live. I'm going to take a few minutes to briefly go over what's in each section of the Ohio ISP. So, let's start from the top. Communication. It's key to remember that behaviors are often a form of communication. The people closest to the person often understand the many different ways the person might communicate. It's important to make sure those folks are giving input. So, this would be the place in the assessment where you would address all the different ways a person expresses themselves or receives information, including nonverbal communication. If the person is a master at reading somebody's body language, or maybe the person plays loud music to tell the entire neighborhood how they're feeling, the communication section is where that crucial information will live. This section also includes a discovery tool called the communication chart. Advocacy and engagement speaks to how the person participates in making decisions. I think all of us want to be a valued member of our households, our neighborhoods, and our workplaces. For this section, we will think of a valued role as the opportunities folks have to engage and contribute with the world around them. We all like to remember that we belong and that the choices we make have a direct effect on our lives. Safety and security will get at a person's safety skills, their ability to be home alone. This is where we'll share information around risk of harm. Does this person physically hurt themselves or others? Important things to know about how the person and their team ensures safety will live in this section. In this section, we'll consider things like, when is this person happiest? We'll think about the things that drive the person's interests, and we'll include how trauma has impacted them. When we're having conversations with the person about their social and spiritual needs, consider the groups that the person belongs to. Ask them what their family relationships are like. Who is important in this person's life? Have there been any changes in that relationship? Are there broken relationships that the person's really struggling with? Can you think of ways that they have opportunities to build friendships? The social and spiritual section will help us explore all the different ways that folks meaningfully connect with others. This section explores where and what a person wants to learn. This section also explores where they want to work and what they want to work for. Where does the person want to be with their job or career? How do they want to get there? This section also talks about the person's skills and needs with handling money. The age of the person will certainly be taken into consideration when completing this part of the assessment. If the information is not applicable, it won't populate. But if it is applicable, for instance, if the individual wants to learn more about how to get a job, or maybe they're working towards a promotion or finishing trade school, then the path to employment will be found here. The Ohio ISP includes hanging out at home and getting around in the community living section. We want to make sure folks can get out and about and get to the things they want to do. So, this is where we would discover the places the person wants or needs to go and exactly how they're going to get there. This section is where we have the opportunity to explore transportation options. When we think about healthy living, we want to think about what the person needs to stay healthy and well. Medical needs have always been a primary focus and will continue to be a primary focus, but not the only focus. The healthy living section gives a home to that super important information. No assessment completed by an external professional will be left behind. We are going to and upload some more, all of that critical information the team has gathered. So at the end of each section, there will be an option to note if other assessments have been done and to upload them to the record. In the example above, the communication chart has been uploaded. The Ohio ISP Standardized Assessment and Plan includes discovery tools. They're interwoven into the template, so any additional assessments should provide valuable information around important aspects to the person's life. In the example seen here, the communication chart in blue is the last part seen of the communication section. The people who understand the person best would have been actively involved in completing the chart so that everybody in the person's life understands the specifics of their communication style. And there it'll be at the end of the communication section. When taking the time to get to know someone and what they want their life to look like, imagine all of the options available to them. Do they have natural supports? How is technology being used by this person? Maybe they're already using technology. How many of us are using Alexa or some other robot or app to create our grocery list every week? Is this technology a possibility for the person you're speaking with? Teams can plan to complete the assessment so that there's more than enough opportunity to have a relaxed environment where you and the person can enjoy a conversation. Does the person feel comfortable in the place where you're meeting? Check in with them. And remember that the person's needs, their wants and desires, that's what's informing the planning process. So it might feel a little different starting there. It might feel different beginning with what the person wants their life to look like instead of starting with the service they've been receiving for the last couple of years or the place they've been going to every day for day program. So now we're at the end of the Ohio ISP assessment sections. We're done exploring and discovering, and now we need to have a plan. But what does the Ohio ISP do with all of that wonderful and rich information we just put into the system? Well, all the things we learned in each section is going to create the living, breathing plan that is read by the person, by all the members of their team. Tina, I'm going to take a step back and let you explain how this process, how getting from the assessment to the plan works.
Thanks, Kate. We often talk about a bridge from assessment to planning, and here it is. All of those rich conversations that came from the assessment, getting at how someone gets things done in their life, where they might want and need some help, what they want to accomplish. All that information feeds into summaries and informs other areas to get you ready for planning. So, what the person wants and needs moves into what is that really going to look like? Here's an overview of how the different sections of the Ohio ISP are divided. These sections include introduction, important to and important for, skills and abilities, known and likely risks, outcomes, services and supports, participation and informed consent, and contact information. So now we'll walk through what each section of the Ohio ISP will contain and how that information will be captured throughout the plan. The first page is the introduction, which provides a snapshot of the individual. This page identifies what people like and admire about the person, what's important to and important for the person, and how best to support the person. The next section is important to and important for. The important to column identifies what a person wants to make them feel content and happy with their life. And the important for column identifies what the person needs to be healthy, safe, and maintain their status as a valued member of society. You'll find that many items in these next few sections will be filled in from the information identified during the assessment process. But there may be some items that will need to be edited during the planning process. If items do fill in from the assessment, they'll be organized into sections, just like you will find in the assessment, which is listed in the far left column. The next section really explains itself. It outlines what the person's skills and abilities are. What is the person good at? What can they do on their own? And what do they have to contribute? And it's organized in sections that match the assessment sections as well. The next page is known and likely risks. This page identifies the supports a person needs to be safe, and that includes their supervision levels. This could also include MUI trends and preventative measures, restrictive measures, special diets, and choking risks. Information around what is the risk, what it looks like, and where it occurs automatically comes over from the assessment, but the rest would need to be filled out to specifically identify how to support the person and who is responsible to provide that support. Next, we have the outcomes section. The outcome should be what the person believes will make their life better, or identify something that they want to accomplish over the next year. Then provides information on how the team will work together to make that happen. We have all seen ISPs that do a great job identifying something the individual wants to do in the body of the plan, like go to a Major League Baseball game or learn how to be a DJ. But the outcome that's listed in the ISP is to learn to make their bed or some other task that doesn't reflect what the individual said they really wanted or what they were excited about. The only thing worse than not asking someone what they want is asking and then not trying to make it happen. This section should also include what progress on the outcome will look like, how successes will be celebrated, and important and relevant history that may impact the outcome, especially if the outcome is to be continued to the next year. The ISP should identify why it didn't get accomplished the first year and how things will be done differently the next year in order to accomplish the outcome. The next section outlines the services and supports the person needs. This page details all the services a person wants and needs to be as independent, healthy, and safe as possible, and who is responsible to provide those services. This page includes paid supports or supports that are paid through the waiver, ICF, or other funding. Additional supports like getting an Alexa, an emergency button, or even getting a ride from a friend to church. And then professional referrals. This could be doctors, dentists, speech therapists. It could be somebody the person is already seeing or someone that they need to see. The next section is a participation and informed consent page. On this page, the person or guardian indicates their understanding regarding freedom of choice, filing complaints, individual rights, and consent to the plan. This section also shows team members' participation and agreement. It allows for signatures and dissenting opinions. And if there are any restrictions, the approval will live here. The final section is contact information. This section outlines personal information of the individual and also provides an area to identify other people, places, and groups that are important to them, like People First meetings or the bowling alley for their bowling league. So as you can see, we have come full circle. The Ohio ISP is a loop that begins and ends with ongoing conversation. The Ohio ISP gives the team a way to assess, plan, and monitor or check in on how it's going, and to revise when things need changed, not just one time a year. As you can see, with all the great information that can be gathered, the Ohio ISP works best when the people who know the person best are included in the discussion. Now, Stephanie will go over what's next in the Ohio ISP process.
A really exciting aspect of the OISP is the online platform. Before we discuss the platform, we want to acknowledge what we've learned. We know IT solutions don't magically develop great plans. The template and tools only support better assessments and plans. We recognize the IT solution must support person-centered practices. This is not just a place where plans are written, but every team member's needs will be supported. And we've learned a lot from other work, both what worked and what didn't. At the start, we recognized that IT should be on an outside platform, be written externally, and that IT needed to be included from the beginning so they could understand our expectations and so we're all speaking the same language. Benefits and features of the Ohio ISP Online are the ability to access up-to-date plans at any time. It was developed with a focus on being easy to use and understand. Like we discussed earlier, the focus will be on simplified language, standardization, and consistent definitions. Another feature is better communication for the entire team using a feature called Chatter, and it will be easy to use on all types of devices. Where are we going from here? Training has just begun, but by early 2021, customized training will continue by role. In spring 2021 to late 2021, the OISP implementation will begin, including the online platform. DoDD will continue to refine the OISP and online platform based on feedback and guiding principles. The assessment center will also be developed. In 2022, all plans will be entered in the Ohio ISP online platform or via third-party vendors. We know the transition to a single plan in the Ohio ISP Online will need to be continually refined based on feedback. You might be wondering, what can you do to get started? The takeaway is build awareness of where things are right now. Starting with simplification. Is it simple? Consider the words you are using, both written and in conversation. Dig deeper. Focus on meaningful conversations. Really get to know the person. And compare current plans and assessments with the 6 essential elements. Between what you heard in the previous training and this training, we've discussed a lot. Head to dodd.ohio.gov to check out some resources. Here you will find additional information for the topics we discussed in Part 1 and 2, like outcomes and the 6 essential elements. You will also find a current version of the OISP, as well as an OSAS map. This map will connect you with the right DoDD contact in your area. Do you have questions? Did we miss something? Sign up for a live chat to connect with DoDD. And remember, you've got this. We are here to support you in this journey.